battle map business in the background too.
Yeah.
These RPG scenery guys, they're doing very cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I've been doing Age of Ashes, and one of the guys has been doing just Roll 20.
Uh huh.
It's been great, but I've seen a lot of the other stuff that they've been offering because my first edition game got kind of canceled because I was in person,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, nope, no traveling. So
See how bad this is. I've had situations where it streams perfectly and situations where it streams like crap with some kind of refresh rate weirdness.
mm,
Let me see what's going on here. That's some kind of stuck. This is the thing I need to test because I've been able to test locally with guys I work. I run a studio here in San Antonio for a bunch of Department of Defense stuff, and
oh, okay, yeah,
yeah, and so when this machine that I'm doing the audio on, I wonder if it's going to kill the frame rate on the Twitch part. Locally, it's worked okay, so it looks like it's killing the frame rate on that. Let me try something else here. Let me try turning this off. Turn this back on. Or maybe it's the frame rate on this map. Bear with me, I mutter to myself.
yeah, no, yeah. The map, oh, no, it's not as choppy anymore. Now it's caught up.
Yeah, the snow one is
A lot of particles, yeah.
well, the Alienware laptop that the stuff's running on is fast as hell. It's just the fact that it's a camera pointed at the TV, and that machine is also doing this voice encoding when I talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me try this again. Let's
Oh,
see.
this is a tabletop. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is my hand. You'll see it in about 3 seconds.
Yep.
So what I'm trying to do is make something that's more like really playing with people, and supposed to just being on Roll 20 and looking at junk all the time.
Look at the screen, yeah.
Let's
Did you
try it.
paint your miniatures too, or?
Yeah, dude. I'm like a kid,
Yeah.
dude. I never grew up.
I've been doing that since I started first edition. My GM
Yeah.
got me into it. I've gotten better. I'm going through the iconics right now, actually.
It's just nice to have a disposable income at 55 years old to buy all the crap you couldn't when you're young.
Yeah, I'm 32 with two kids,
Oh,
but I
good for
managed
you.
to I
That's all.
managed, a couple bucks here and there to get $5 for a mini and then paint it up. My son likes it too. He had a blast.
That's
They
awesome.
did a paint day. We did the Knowles Owl Bear, so we each did one.
Oh, that's
And his
cool. That's
his
totally
is all
cool.
purple, and mine looks like Sully from Monsters Inc. because I'd already painted that miniature. And I was like, I have a green beholder. I'm painting this to be blue
That's
with
awesome.
purple spots. Yeah, it was a good time.
That's really cool. So I have a small camera. The thing with the small camera on you. Do you see the Twitch stream going?
Yep.
Yeah. So the small camera, you got this. It's kind of neat when I deal with the local buddies to like show dice rolls and some of them positioning really close or whatever like that. But for most of the time, the problem with the overhead camera I found, like no, you think of it true honestly as well, is the overhead camera things are kind of far away. Let me switch that back to a battle map. Let's just go to
Yeah.
this one. That's the only thing that's really kind of bad is that's in real life. If you were sitting here hanging out, you'd kind of lean in closer, right?
Oh, for sure.
So it's kind of like it's either too damn close, like this, which of course and you get these artifacts. You see those visual artifacts popping across the
Yeah,
bottom.
pixels. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks kind of yucky. So I'm trying to find some kind of blend between the two that'll be more fun. But the idea behind doing this was to get a bunch of people from around the world that really know the rules really well, and I just every day there's people asking the same questions over and over and over
Yep.
to kind of make it funny, goofy, upbeat, and people answer the question, debating with each other, and we can use this table to explain something. That's kind of the idea, because I think that would be something that would be fun that community people might enjoy. I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I'd have to agree. I know even in my first edition game, there's always questions about the rules, and I don't want to say I'm a rules lawyer, but
Mm-hmm.
what I do for work is I'm a privacy consultant, so I spend all day reading the law and understanding what it is, and then telling people what they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So then I go and play Pathfinder, and I'm like, yeah, I read 500 pages. Like let's talk about this. And like Dimension Door on first edition was really crazy, and like me and my GM were discussing what a willing creature means.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go by the European definition of consent. So I'm going to ask everyone if they want to be dimension doored with me. And we'll like write up a notice for them.
Yeah, so it's
We,
almost like
we,
your work training applies to your game session to some degree. Then.
yeah, it's been great. And I mean, as far as second edition, I've played basically two one shots and still playing Age of Ashes. We're on book 3. So I've played a champion, I've played a druid, and I've played a rogue. And it's been a ruffian rogue, and it's been pretty fun.
That's
So,
cool. The problem for me is I started. I'm the old school AD&D guy, right? Just grew up with it,
oh yeah,
modified the crap out of it, changed it. 1 minute milli rounds don't fly for me. But when Pathfinder 2 came out, I was like, oh, this is so awesome because I love the one books, but just for their ideas. And so I started trying to make myself teach myself this stuff. Couldn't get any local kids to play. All the shops were playing fifth edition. It's like, listen, I'm going to have to teach this to myself so I can do a video about it. So,
yeah,
and then trying to sway people to come play. But even now, the rules knowledge for me is because I haven't had the time on the table with people playing. It's just starting to vaporize. So I went back and started doing some AD&D stuff again. And like, here I am. I go get my Pathfinder 2 book back again. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot the proficiency bonus. So I'm dying to get a community of people that want to play online. That's why I'm trying to get this digital thing kind of cooler than Roll 20 because there's so many people that are adults that want to play. If you know what I
yeah,
mean, I'm trying to find and get a community of people that like to play and have fun and whatever. So,
yeah. I mean, oddly enough, my second edition group is younger. I'm actually the oldest one.
hmm
Most of them are college age. They're like in their early 20s, and so I'm 32, and I'm like, oh, I'll be 20 minutes late because I'm putting my kid to bed. And they're like, oh,
wow.
okay. Um, but they're super great. They're all fifth edition guys, and basically they're like, well, they wanted to give Pathfinder a shot, and so they
hmm
we found the group. I found the group through Reddit,
Okay.
and they basically I'm the only guy who's left from the Reddit group other than the GM.
Oh
So he
wow.
brought a bunch of his fifth edition buddies along, and it's been awesome. Like they've really enjoyed it because there's more content out for second edition than there is for fifth edition right now for fifth
hmm
edition D and D.
Yeah.
And they were just like Paizo pumps it out. I was like, well, a lot of it's first edition stuff, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, their content's amazing. I mean, I love what they do, but you can tell they're just a book churning machine. They print everything
Oh
color in
yeah,
China, which is going to hurt them this year really bad. And a few years ago, because I'm from the video game industry, they were trying to do like a little MMO type thing, and that kind of petered out on them. But I have a lot of respect for their writing. Their writing is actually really clear. And
yeah.
Jason, those guys, some of them have been doing it for over 10 years. I mean, Jason worked on D&D stuff a long time ago.
Yeah. The
So
Gods and Magic book is amazing. Like
really,
it's reading through it. It's just there's not a lot. There's a couple feats in there and a few things like that,
hmm
but if you ignore all of that, the boons and it's there's so much like flavor for when you're writing your character.
hmm
Because you can be like, oh, I want a lawful good guy who's just like absolutely like letter of the law, like Judge Dredd. And you can
okay,
read in the back, and you're like, oh, well, Damarak, who's the weighted swing, who's basically like the god of executioners, judges, and the wrongly accused.
hmm
And he's lawful good. He uses a great axe as a favored weapon. And he's just like, if you get your day in trial, but if you're guilty and you're dead. Like that's the whole thing.
that's
And I
hilarious.
was like, you can
It
do
reminds
that.
like an EverQuest raid.
Yeah, it's really really good. And then all the descriptions of like the major deities, so Iomade, Norgabur, Rovagug, all that is really good too.
That's cool. That's awesome. I don't know that mythology very well. I'm such an old Greyhawk guy. I like the Undersea stuff. Got a big map on my wall. I try to dig into it. The Lost Omens thing I think is really neat, but I haven't tried that book. It's been on my list to
Yeah,
buy it. I should just go pick it up.
the the character guide or the world guide.
I have the Lost Omens World Guide. I have it in PDF form. I haven't got the new ones they did after that, the Player's Guide and the Gods of Magic thing. I haven't gotten those two. Those are the two big
Uh,
releases I hadn't picked up. I got the Game Master one, but I'm like,
yeah,
eh.
the APG isn't out yet. I don't think. Is it?
Oh, okay. Maybe I just saw it on the web somewhere then.
I know they've been talking about it. Everyone's talking because they've been doing play tests of it for
Mm-hmm.
because they have the I think it's the in the it's I think it's the Inquisitor. It's either that or the Investigator. It's one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's Witch, Oracle, and Swashbuckler are
Yeah,
the other
pulling
ones
from
they're
their
introducing.
Pathfinder 1 classes they
Yeah,
made. That's awesome. Very cool.
yeah,
I think some of the young kids wrote some of those later books. They have a couple of young people working there, and
yeah.
they do a really good job. I mean, their writing is really strong. I think that, I mean, I love writing, and I'm so picky about it. And the amount of work that they crank out, and how clear it is, and how well put together it is. And when they
Yeah.
have, Wayne Reynolds' artwork is in there, it's just brilliant. It's really, really good. I just
I
don't.
yeah.
Fifth edition just goes off this weird. I don't want to be a hater on it and get off on a tangent, but it's just really odd. It's just turned into this strange kind of
And
different audience.
it's Wizards of the Coast. Yeah. I mean I feel like Paizo's able to really focus on Pathfinder because I mean even Starfinder's in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one. Basically they pull from the different systems, so it's not too crazy. They're kind of focused. Wizards of the Coast is very like, all right, well we have Magic cards to make. There's Pokemon TCG. There's D&D, and even that, it's like, well, we don't want to pull our writing staff off the Magic group because they probably have one writing staff for everything.
Oh
But
yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure they're getting hurt hard by all the stuff going on in China too, because they're the printing people. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I guess one thing would be cool, especially for someone like you who's real articulate and really smart and been playing for a long time, is maybe think of things that you think would be fun topics to chat about.
oh yeah,
I'm used to leading a studio, so I can sometimes like overpower conversations. So what I want to do is kind of have a situation where a bunch of people have like things they want to talk about, and I can just kind of keep it funny and kind of drive it in certain directions. So we can use the board to talk about junk. So it's
yeah.
fun.
I've definitely, so I actually have only been playing for about 2 years. I started
Mm-hmm.
first edition last year in a Giant Slayer campaign,
Mm-hmm.
which is still going on.
Oh wow.
Because we play once a month, and we've had months where we miss stuff and whatnot. Um, but it's like the rules lawyer thing. So I'm really like I want to play the character in a goofy way, and I'm gonna figure out how to do it. So like I made a bard who's a summoning bard, but it's just the core rulebook for first edition, and it's been interesting because there's not much to do in the core rulebook for summoning other than augmented summoning, which is just like, hey, +4 con, +4 strength for all your summons.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about
But
Pathfinder One when you say first edition,
that's
then
one.
yeah.
Yeah, that's first edition. But now I've been playing second edition for since it came out. I bought the book the day it came out.
Yeah.
It was nice. I went on vacation up in Maine and sat on the beach reading this 500, 600 page rule book, and people were giving me like the weirdest looks. Like,
Screw
what is he,
them.
what is he doing? Why is, and my wife's like, I cannot believe you're reading a rule book on the beach. I'm like, what? And then I went and built sandcastles with my son, so it was all right. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and even just like looking at the champion class because that's what I've been playing in Age of Ashes. That's been awesome, just because there's so much. There's little stuff in there, like there's the feat at first level called ranged reprisal, whereas paladins can step 5 feet if they're within range to strike someone for their
Mm-hmm.
retributive strike. But at the same time, it doesn't say you actually have to hit anyone to do retributive strike. So if you're both within 15 feet, you can't hit them. You can just be like, well, I'm using retributive strike. I can't hit them, but they get the damage reduction anyway. But it doesn't
Oh
do anything
wow.
else.
What's
Because if
that?
you read it, it says
Is
you
it?
reduce the damage, and then if you can make a strike, make a strike.
What's that? Pre-gen character's name?
Sela. I actually just
I got
finished
it right
painting
here.
them
Here
in
it is.
miniature. Yeah,
Give me a second to
I'm
get this
working on
formatted.
Valeros now. What have I painted? So I painted Marisil, Sajan the monk, Lenny the druid, Ezra the wizard, Kyra, right? Kyra the cleric, and
Yeah. Who
Cedar
knows
the
how to?
paladin.
There we go.
I Yeah, I just finished up Kyra. Actually, I'm gonna post that in the chat.
Now, did you buy like? Did they have like a Champions of the Realm type of box set, or did you buy them all
Uh,
individually, or something like that? Are they Pathfinder One, Whiz Kids, whatever? How did you get those miniatures?
they're Reaper
Oh, okay,
miniatures.
Reaper. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I just posted the Kyra one I just finished.
Let me see
Um,
here. You just put that in the chat channel. Let's see
yeah, in
here.
the
Let me
Discord.
let me switch over here. Cool. I'm gonna bring that window up so it can be captured. There we go.
I
Hey,
did
that looks good,
Sela as
man.
well.
Oh, that
Yeah,
looks good. That's cool.
I did
You
Sela with
know,
a non-metallic metal sword, which was I'd never done it before, so that was a lot of fun.
yeah, she looks good. Do you use Null oil for wash? You make your own wash, or
Yeah, I just use Citadel paints. Yeah,
that's cool.
so
That's
I have all
awesome.
the washes. Actually, I bought their wash set, which was $40, but it comes with like all the colors. Um, and taking the time to individually use the washes. So I was using, I can never, it's Seraphim something. Seraphim Sepia is the one for like her chain there.
Gonna be a little bit of lag here for a second.
Yep.
There we go. That way we can compare the two. You still
Yeah.
hear me all right? All right.
Yeah.
I wish you could turn it around.
Oh yeah, I have the back picture too.
That's what
I
that
actually tried to freehand it for the first time.
that
And
character is so awesome. It's so. Oh, there you go. Great photo. Very cool. I remember when I
yeah,
first saw that character, I was like, "Oh man, this is awesome! Got a fantastic blade in her hand, the great flowing robes. You know, a little bit of Middle Eastern touch. It just,
I just when you read her, because in first edition it's like, well, she's a cleric, right? And she's got the healing domain, but then she has the fire domain, and she has like burning hands at level 1 and all this cool stuff.
oh
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
yeah,
there we
she's
go.
really awesome.
A lot of the
Let's
key
see.
art. That's one thing I love about their whole franchise is all their key art and all the books. When a lot of the Wayne Reynolds one, but a lot of people were having to draw the character in lots of situations. They're always showing her doing something awesome and super cool, you know. And having that same ensemble cast all the time kind of ties everything together. Like I can't think of a single
Yeah.
ensemble cast character in D&D except for all the Dritz and junk that was done years and years ago. But those things are just so burned out. And
Yeah.
they'll have iconic pictures. I'm not trying to bash on them, but they'll have iconic pictures of the same character, but it doesn't have a name, doesn't have personality. And every single thing that these guys put out always has these identifiable characters there. You know,
Yeah.
it's an example for someone to learn to kind of go by and become more like heroes for them.
No, and it's good because then you can just do the pre-gens, right? And I think that's really nice. Where, like, I mean, Kyra, like, so her stat sheet, she has a 10 in Constitution. I would probably dump, you know, like I would even be willing to dump like 2 out of Wisdom or 2 out of Charisma to get them in the Constitution, right?
Get her hit points up more, or just for more
Yeah, get the
saves.
hit points
Yeah,
up, especially because she has 14 strength, so she can hit stuff.
yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, this is cool. You can play this character a little bit differently, which is nice.
Hmm. Now she's not a war priest, right?
I think she's not. It would say in her she would either be a what is it? A cloistered cleric or
Yeah,
a
that's
war
it. Yeah,
priest.
it's like the two options. Let me ask you a question on I don't know how big your web browser is or what you're looking at for a slate or something, but can you read that character sheet on this right hand panel? Or is it
Just
kind of scrubby and scrappy looking?
yeah, just barely. I'm trying to see where does it say just her class? It says cleric 1 up top. Yeah.
Yeah, these are from the community, whatever you call them, Pathfinder Society ones, and they're pretty old, like
If she's
August.
wearing armor, she's definitely a war priest at that point.
I see what she's got. She's just light armor proficiency.
Okay, yeah, so she's a cloistered cleric then, and she's probably
Mm-hmm.
wearing a chain shirt. Yeah.
Let me switch this to one page at a time. It'd be easier to move it around.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely seems like she's a cloistered cleric, which is cool.
Yeah, she's awesome. Have you played her before verbatim, or have you played a version of that, your own take on it, or?
I actually played Kyra in the card game,
Oh,
the
cool.
Pathfinder card game. As far as pre-gens in like actual tabletop, I played Ezrin in first edition
Mm-hmm.
when my GM had a group of like 4 people from his job who were learning who had never played before, and he's like, "Here, you can come play." And I was like, "Oh, I'd love to play like a fighter or a rogue," and those were both taken. He goes, "Here, you can be a wizard." I was like, "All right, let's do this." Like level 2 Ezrin, let's go.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's totally cool. Yeah, she's
So I
got to be
finished
one of my
Ezrin,
favorite
so.
characters. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I finished Ezrin too, so I've like I said, I'm going through all the miniatures. So I've got Valeros primed up, ready to go, and I just ordered Siani, Amiri, and Lem because those are the only ones I don't have.
I think when I first started dabbling around with making D&D videos and stuff like that, I had this the Amiri girl was representing one of my other characters. Let me put this little camera on here. You can probably see it better. But I painted her completely different. I'm just going to hide this other panel real quick. And let's go to this one. This is all lit up funky. But that's the old Amiri.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She was like, overpowered warrior in the against the giants junk I did like 2 years ago or whatever. My painting skills are not good. This character was painted 2 years ago. This is probably
I
more
mean, 2 years
indicative,
ago,
more.
I think I actually have. Oh, is it in my old other folder? I think I have it. The first miniature I painted versus another one I had painted.
Probably less framey like this on a piece of paper. Yeah, I have buddies that are really into Warhammer and got jets flying from the Air Force Base here. That are, I just don't have the level of detail that they do. These guys here are just from that Song of Fire and Ice. They were just so cheap. They work great for enemies,
Oh
for
yeah,
just invader dudes or whatever, like Viking warriors. They work fantastic.
yeah. Even in like the last, because I've been painting for like I said, like 2 years, I've
Mm-hmm.
definitely gotten a lot better. But I take my time, and it's like, I can imagine like the Warhammer guys, like they paint like whole armies, and they look fantastic.
Oh
It's
yeah.
amazing. And I'm like, well, I painted one mini at the same quality, and it took me about the same amount of time. They're like, oh, that's nice. I'm like, thanks.
I'm gonna grab something out of a box. I'll be right back. Hang on, just half a
Yeah, yeah.
second. This is the thing with the Warhammer guys is it's like these warlord miniatures from Bolt Action. Let me just turn this up a little bit. They're
Oh yeah,
so inexpensive, but you got to put them together.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Gotta
that's
have
just
the clippers and everything. Yeah.
oh yeah, and so it takes a long time for people. I mean, a lot of people they see this, they're like, no.
I don't want to deal with what's a sprue? I don't want to touch that.
And then they get this beautiful color photograph. It's like, yeah, it will look like this one day, just like in the book. But for
Yeah.
right now, you're going to be, you're going to be looking at this. That's one
I
thing. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry. So I would definitely say I like Reaper because they're not resin, but they're plastic and they're a solid piece, so you just buy them. The
Hmm.
only thing is some of them come on these huge, like the base piece, instead of it being like a little bit of dirt or something, it's always massive. So for a lot of the miniatures, I actually cut them off at the feet with a hobby saw and then
That's a
glued
good
them
idea.
onto a 1 inch base. The GM of my first edition game, like he showed me how to do it. He's definitely been like he can argue with me sometimes and be like, "That's not how that spells work." And I'm like, "But it says it right in the rule book." But for the most part, he's really awesome, and he puts up with me and my shenanigans because I mean,
Well,
at this point, I mean, I'm gonna be a 13th level bard, and it's like, oh yeah, I cast haste and good hope, and then I spend the entire game just messing with the enemies that he's been like, oh, here's a bunch of giants, and I'm like, all right, well, I make everyone invisible, and I like go have like that's it. We sneak by them, and he's like, "You suck. You ruined this entire encounter and everything set up." I'm like, "Okay, sorry."
well, you're just being creative and pushing the boundaries. That's one thing that's very funny. You see on Facebook postings all the time where people are like, they broke my story or they broke this or they broke that. It's like, well, you should be ready to improvise and make it cooler for them. I had some of the Reaper giants. They were you put them together. There's like 5 or 6 pieces. They were fantastic. They were so huge. They were
Oh
like
yeah,
Reaper
I've
bones.
seen
I have a
those.
couple of those. They painted up kind of goofy. And we're off on a tangent on miniatures, but that's fine. This is just for an audio test. I'm gonna go grab them real quick out of the
Yeah,
closet. Hang on.
I know exactly which ones you're talking about.
Kind of hard to
Yeah,
see. The
it's
washer method
the
ended up being crap.
I think it's like one a jailer. I forget what they are, but I know which. I
My,
know like those miniatures pretty well. I've definitely seen them.
my wife painted this one actually. She embarrassed me. This is my slop. But yeah, it's really cool. I know that's the one thing about the miniatures is the WizKid stuff is just ready to go. Bam, they're just kind of skinny and a little small, but they you can see why they're so popular.
Well, yeah, I mean the WizKids are primed, but a lot of people complain that like the primer is really cakey or it's not as good as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I agree necessarily, but there's definitely some room for improvement there.
Yeah, I tried a couple different methods. One of them was to use like spray primer you'd get like at Home Depot or something, and see if that would work pretty good. These two dummies here, let's see the ones we were looking at earlier. So this is the whatever Song of Fire and Ice Jokers from their little game where they have a little tray, and this is just a WizKid one. These guys, I actually sprayed them with the primer ahead of time. This is just painted right on the regular default, whatever
Or
you call it.
plastic, yeah.
Yeah, they turned out okay. But gosh, I've seen some people's stuff and just like, oh my goodness, how can you even see that close?
Yeah, it's for sure I've had trouble with looking, but I've gotten better at like doing the eyes and stuff. And it takes time, but it's worth it. It's fun.
Oh yeah. Well, one thing it will be interesting to see here if we can get a couple more people is if we have 2 or 3 people in a conversation, it could be a lot of fun because you can just go off any kind of wacky direction someone's in the mood to talk about. And I don't want to make some pre-scripted thing. I think part of the fun would be I always like to address it like, hey, I got this 5th edition player. He wants to kind of understand what the deal with proficiency bonus is. So what's the deal between Mauricio and Kyra's whatever Kira, how you want to pronounce her proficiency bonus? How does it get explain it to someone? And then
Oh
hear
man,
two or three people explain, ETMP and everything else start explaining it. I think that would be cool conversation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We've had a lot of uh, conversations like that, I would say, um, in my current game, where a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'd really like to do XYZ thing," and it's like, "All right, well, let's see if we can do it."
Hmm.
And we work it out. It's been because again, it's like fifth edition guys, and even me, we're all pretty new. We started this campaign um, about 2-3 months after second edition came out,
Hmm.
so it's been it's been an adventure
So
for
you guys
sure.
are doing Age of Ashes.
Yeah,
Now, what's the
it's
theme of that thing? I mean, the cover
it's
art kind of looks like, Hell Rider type of vibe. I haven't actually peeked inside of it and looked at it. Tell me all about it.
I would say it's like Galarian World Tour. Um, it's very much meant to be like, hey, you're gonna basically go everywhere in Galarian. You're gonna see all this stuff, and you're going to see a little bit of everything.
Hmm.
Um, you get a lot of so you start off and it's like your classic adventure, like, hey, something's going on in this old abandoned citadel, and you got to go check it out. And you totally can, you just go and do it. You check it out, and it's fine. Um, and it goes from there, and it gets a little bit crazier as you move forward.
What region
And
would you
so
say you starts off in? I'm gonna pop a map up here real quick.
yeah,
Just
so it starts off in like what Chiliax used to be. It starts in Isker. You're in a town called Breachel, so you're like you're west of Cheliax right there.
over here where the
Um,
little mouse cursor is.
yeah, you're a little further, yeah, like right around there.
Hmm.
But then basically the portals are involved. So the second book is all in the Mwangi Expanse, and we're in book 3, so we're actually further north in what's this? I have the map actually up in Ravenel, up like northwest of where Chiliax used to be.
Let me see if I can get my map caught up to you.
Yeah. No, I know exactly where it is. Like I have because in the back of the world guide, when you
Hmm.
buy the actual book, there's a poster map that
I
you can
actually
hang up.
have
So
that. Yeah, I have that on the
yeah,
wall. Let me see if I can pull it up on the screen real
my
quick.
son insisted on me hanging that up. He was like, "This is so cool."
Oh yeah, you can get it laminated like FedEx office for hardly nothing, and then it'll
Yeah,
just last forever.
I just got it chilling out right up there.
Cool. So you say it starts off to the west of the Cheliax area?
Yeah, it's a town called Breachel. It's in Isker. And the whole like story of the town is it was founded by basically a bunch of amnesiacs who uh, didn't know what happened, and this wizard helped them out. And you kind of as you go through, you figure out what happened and all that. It's interesting.
What's the whole Age of Ashes theme title come from? Like when they got ready to come up with a name for it, like why did they call it that? What do you
You
think?
end up yeah, you end up fighting what is it? It's a Dahak, who's like the evil dragon god. Like he's the main
Hmm.
antagonist. And there's a cult. What do they call it? The Cinder Claws. Yeah, the
Hmm.
Cinder Claws. And you fight, and they're like the main group that's like trying to resurrect the Hawk or whatever.
Oh,
So
okay. So
you
they have like long term goal. You trying to stop all that business?
exactly, yeah,
Cool. Now that you said it was a world tour earlier, so
yeah.
you
So
right now you're in Mwangi Expanse. Is that what you were
no,
saying?
we're up in Ravenel. We were in Mwangi Expanse,
Now
and
teach me
then
something. Tell me where Ravenel is on this map.
northwest of where it says Old Chiliax. It's like right up in that little peninsula that's poking out to bottom left from where your cursor's left of where your cursor is on the. I mean, you're behind me, obviously.
Yeah, I'm by like 4 seconds in the past.
Yeah.
Tell me
But
one
it's
more time.
northwest. So where it says Old Chiliax, it's northwest from there. It says Ravenel.
Okay, I see that. Let me see if we can zoom in closer on that. This might
So
lag a
there's
bit.
there's a like the capital city of Ravenel, which so Cheliax is now Old Cheliax because Cheliax is like was basically a lawful evil nation. Like
Hmm.
demons wander around Cheliax like without any problem. Demons and or not what is it? The devils, excuse me, because devils are lawful evil. So devils wander around as well, and demons as well because they're neutral evil, and then there's fiends who are evil, chaotic evil. But they just like wander around. So they broke off. They allowed slavery, and all the places were able to get away. Ravenel was one of the main things. It was the Hell's Rebels was the name of the campaign that
Hmm.
actually had that happening.
Hmm.
Um, so basically, you're what was I saying? So basically, you go to Ravenel though, because there's essentially in the Citadel at a certain point there's you find like a bunch of secret portals, and you use them to travel to kind of figure out what's going on uh, around the world. and stop bad things from happening.
So is that kind of like going to end up be your main way of zipping around the world to go respond to things?
Exactly. Like the end of book one is like, hey, you found this really cool portal and you're going to like do all this stuff. And then you go to like you the second book is like, all right, you walk through the portal and you're in Mwangi Expanse. Like, wow, you're in this really
Oh, that's
cool
cool.
place.
So, what would you say? How do the players find out about when they get rid of like their teaser to go to the next area? Is some mentor character giving you, or you just uncover the clue? Like when you guys were playing through it, or you're not DMing it, you're playing through it, right? Someone else is game mastering it for you.
Yeah. So he's DMing it. So I mean, there's with the third book, there's a little bit of like I guess railroading is what you'd say, right? So it's kind of just like, hey, you were in this place and now
Mm-hmm.
you're over here. Um, but for the most part, it's pretty like it makes sense. Like, hey, we want to do this thing and figure out what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it works. So the GM's been doing a good job, and he did a couple where he like custom made his own little what's the word I'm looking for? He made his own campaigns and with those they were actually or the little one shots and he tied in the main campaign so there's like some side characters we met and he's like oh you meet this character and like you're helping them out now and they're doing stuff and it's pretty cool. He's a really good GM. I mean
He
for I
sounds
think he's
really
like
good.
20 something. He's awesome and he sets stuff up on roll 20 and he knows what he's doing there so it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the best one. I mean, someone who's got the opportunity to add more detail to something that because when someone's writing one of those big modules or adventures, they're kind of like, I got to connect these dots and make this happen and keep it all this balance. But then you got to go in there and tailor it to the players. I mean, the players have to be like really into it, and you have to kind of shift stuff back and forth based on what they're interested in. And sometimes if someone starts playing through something, you give them 3 or 4 sessions, they're like, listen, there's too much hack and slash, or too much traps, or too much this. You really got to tailor it to them. The other guy
Yeah.
said, the guy says he's in the bank. Cool. That's cool. I enjoyed talking to you, man. It's very cool. And I appreciate you doing this test with me. We don't have to cut it off, but save some energy. When would be a cool time to have you, if we can recruit a couple of other folks from around the world to get on here? Um, when would you like to do it like more officially? And what would you like to talk about?
I mean the general idea, right, is talking about like players who are new and getting them
Mm-hmm.
adjusted or understanding what's going on, right?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good place to start for people because people who already know, it would just us be nerding out.
Yeah, I think a good place to start is always character creation.
Mm-hmm.
Just because for a lot of players who people who don't even play D&D, it can be pretty like uh, intimidating to do all this stuff where it's like, hey, you're gonna, what is it? You're gonna make this character and you have all this backstory and you can do all this stuff and it's like, no, you really don't have to do that at all. You don't have to do that one little bit. You can just do what you want to do instead. You can make a character who's really, really simple and be like, oh, yeah, this guy is just like, he's a fighter and he wants to be really, really strong and punch and beat the crap out of people. And it's like, cool. Go right, like, you do you. Like, go right for it. Go for it.
That may be a real key point, like from a philosophy perspective. And if the players don't think that which class is the most powerful, and what build should I do, which I see a lot in the 5e Facebook groups. They're like over focusing. They're like Dota players. And so that might be a good topic. Like talk about character creation, and then see what kind of things in character creation are people going to get tripped up on. Like, okay, all these ability boosts are always +2, but are coming to the table with an idea for a character. I've seen situations where someone like doesn't even know where to begin to come up with an idea, and I always say, well, grab your favorite comic, your favorite book, or a movie, or whatever, and just mold the character off to someone that you personally like. And if the GM's really creative, he can always just make up a background for you. I mean, maybe we can do that. It'd be cool to get the other people in here and see what kind of things I like to chat about too. I think the character creation thing would be a good way to get people interested in listening along or whatever.
Yeah, that would be good. I think character creation's good. And then just like the basics of play and understanding sort of the 3 action economy is really good too.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that kind of tripped up one of the players from fifth edition was that he was looking at reactions like, oh, I can get more than one. Like it's anytime this happens, I get a reaction. It's like, no, you get one a turn, right? And it's You get one reaction per turn unless you have feats that say otherwise. And there's a whole bunch of feats because I'm playing a champion. There's like 3 feats that give you additional reactions.
Hmm.
So I've been dipping into those.
Well, see, here's the good thing. So you guys know the game a lot better than me. So I can even play as your old school AD&D player who got a chance to dig into the rules pretty far, understands a lot of the surrounding basics, but doesn't understand all those subtle details. And so I could throw out a situation like, well, okay, I understand the three action economy. Have you guys do situations where you're 25 feet forward, take a whack at someone, then 25 feet withdraw? And does that happen on a lot of your games, your table? Are people doing hit, run, and flying, and y'all can just talk about it? Or
Yeah.
when someone's doing, I don't want to get into the shield thing, but if someone starts getting into like what would be a good tactic for a new player coming into a battle, and what most people are always saying things like, well, listen, they'll just dive into a melee of 4 enemies. You're going to get ripped to shreds. They're all going to hit you 3 times probably. So those from you guys who played a lot more than me, and know some, have seen some of these mechanics happen and unfold, it'd be really great to like throw up a situation like that. And when you guys start talking about a specific detail that I don't know, I'll prompt you to elaborate on it, and then you just think of yourself as explaining it to somebody else. So I'm just going to prompt those kind of questions. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, I think
There's just no
especially
band.
that the whole like, hey, I'm just, like, he's just gonna rush in, like that's totally fine. I'm playing like there's one guy who is very experienced and he played, like I said, fifth edition, um, and he is the biggest pain in my ass because he's the fighter in our group and he constantly rushes into combat to die. And I'm like, why are you doing this to me? You know I can't follow you. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's still, it doesn't matter. He's just like, hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna rush in. I'm like, all right, well, I'm behind you. Like, I'll follow after you and be, your protector and block for you. Let's do it.
So in that
Um,
situation, which character are you playing?
I'm playing Sela would be because she's a paladin.
Hmm.
I'm basically playing Sela. She's a lawful good paladin that
Hmm.
follows Iomedae.
Okay.
Like I'm playing the exact same thing.
So
Um,
is your fighter guy just a younger player, or just anxious to wallop facing things as Diablo, or what would
I
you
I
how do you
think he's
describe him?
RPing a bit, to be honest,
Oh,
because
okay.
his character is like a very hot. She's got the Aldori Sword Lord dedication,
Hmm.
so she's a duelist, or well, it's the duelist dedication. But she's very haughty and very like, I'm better than you, and she's has a serious drug problem. That is the other thing. Um,
Is
and
that an
so
official background?
yeah, that's like her thing is
Let's
that
just
she's got like
find
this
it.
horrible drug problem. Because originally she was playing a rogue and that got killed in the first book.
Do you
Because
remember the
she did
name for
this.
that background? I want to hear about this. It sounds hilarious. Sorry to
Oh,
cut you off.
well, it's not a background. I think her background was like, oh God, I haven't even looked.
That's okay.
I, but like, I think it was one of the ones taken from, what is it? From,
Lost
I can't
Omens
remember.
or something.
Yeah, from Age of Ashes, because there's a
Okay,
few
okay.
specific ones. Like I took Breach Hill Scion, which just means like you grew up in Breach Hill, the town where everything starts.
Hmm.
And that's what I did for my character, and it worked great. Um, but yeah, so he did that, but his character just rushes in because she's very like, I don't really care. I'm just going to be like caution to the wind and do whatever the heck I want to
Just
do.
Conan mode, huh?
Yep,
Now you said
exactly.
you said he's dual wielding. What were you saying?
No, so he's an Aldori duelist,
Oh, okay. What's
which
that?
is so it's the dedication. It gives you access to Aldori dueling swords, which are an okay weapon. There's a lot of lore behind it. If you've played the Kingmaker game,
Hmm.
you would definitely know Aldori sword lords, like
Hmm.
for sure. Um, Basically, their whole shtick is that they are like what is it? They're the people that hire you is what they do. But basically, Aldori sword lords are like they use a special sword. It's like almost like a rapier longsword hybrid.
Hmm.
Um, and it's very very strange how it's used. But only they can use it. No one else gets proficiency with it because it's an advanced, uncommon weapon. It's like it's really weird. So there's benefits there. Um,
Is it in the
and
core rulebook, or is it
it's
or
in the
from the Age
core
of
rule
Ashes?
book. I don't know. I think it might be in the age the Lost Omens rule book,
Hmm.
or
Okay.
yeah, that's the one it would be. So I believe it's in the Lost Omens rulebook for the World Guide because that's where the dedication is. But it's I believe it gets not agile, but it's a finesse weapon,
Hmm.
and it also has that when you critically strike someone with it, it makes them flat-footed.
Oh
Or
wow, that's
yeah,
nasty.
for their dedication. That's like what it does.
Now, what is a dedication?
So dedications, instead of having a multi-classing, what they've done for second edition is they have what's called dedications. So what it is that if you remember, if you ever played first edition or even fifth edition
I played
D&D,
3.5. Yeah,
um, what I'm sorry, I'm at the same time playing
that's
I'm
fine.
playing Hearthstone at the same time.
Do what you gotta do. It's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So what it does is basically you would um, okay. So you'd lose classes. So you'd have like your max levels 20 for your character, but if
Hmm.
you wanted to multi-class, you could be like, oh, I have 15 levels in fighter and 5 levels in barbarian, which gives me access to like the barbarian rage ability. It gives me the ability to, you know, use certain weapons that barbarians might have, or I get more health because their dice is higher
Sure. Yeah, I
for
played
health.
Weapon Master Monk Fighter in 3.5 slash Neverwinter Nights with a crit threat range of like 12 to 20, and it was just dual wielding rapiers, and it was just insane. Some of the builds you could put together, and that's all 3.5 stuff, which I haven't touched in probably well over 15 years.
Yeah.
So the dedication system is the way they've got multi-classing working, but you could totally give up an additional level. So you don't like level to 5 and then switch to thief and then go 5 levels and end up being 5/5. Is that how it works?
Right, you give up feats instead. So
Okay.
when a character levels up, it's every second. So it's if you're a marshal, it's your first level, second level, and then every even numbered level afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a caster, it's just every even level. You don't get a first level feat as a caster in second edition. Um, what you do is that you basically give up your feat. So you're saying, all right, I'm going to give up being a um, getting like its second level as a paladin, for example, let's say, or as a champion. You
Mm-hmm.
could give up I think it's called your oath. So you can, instead of it being like, hey, I'm going to uh be a oh, hold on one second, sorry.
That's right. Go ahead.
There we go. Sorry. Just doing good things in Hearthstone, apparently. I'm doing it. All right. So instead of getting that oath, like, oh, instead of it being like I'm really good at fighting dragons, you can get a dedication instead. So I could get like the monk dedication, which gives you access to the deadly fists feat, which is
Yeah, it's all in archetypes. Here we go.
yeah, they're called archetypes, but you take the dedication is the second level feat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you deadly fists, so now you can punch people for a D6
Mm-hmm.
instead of a D4, and you do lethal damage.
Cool.
Usually, it gives you a skill, so like athletics or acrobatics for monks. For like a rogue, it'd be stealth or thievery, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you a couple other things, but then it lets you access these other feats, so you can get things where you can like one that's pretty popular is you play a fighter and then you get the monk dedication, and then at 10th level you get monk's flurry, so you get flurry of blows,
Mm-hmm.
and you can basically unarmed punch the crap out of people and do all sorts of craziness.
You become
Um,
an MMA fighter almost immediately.
yeah, it's pretty good.
That's pretty
Um,
creative for people who really want to really work the system to be a really powerful character when you got to carry some other players who may not be as strong. And plus, you just have fun. You just want to really create your own kind of heroic character without having to be just a cookie cutter. I wonder if people that
yeah.
originally come to the game, will the whole dedication archetype slash underneath that dedication, will it confuse them? Because I know those
So it's
old school AD&D people were like level up to 7 and then pick up illusionist if you got the stats for it, and then you level up illusionist, so you're splitting the hit points and splitting the experience. This is really old junk, right?
yeah.
What do you think?
I don't think it's that confusing because it's basically a feat. It just gives you extra functionality, right? It's pretty because it's pretty easy. Even like if you look at the monk page right there, it's like
Mm-hmm.
basic kata. Oh, you gain a first or second level monk feat, so you go to the monk feats and you can pick those up,
Mm-hmm.
and those are going to be pretty basic. It's not going to be anything too crazy or complex. Um,
Cool.
so that's fine. But like even my champion, so as a human at ninth level, when you get an ancestry feat, humans can get what is it called? I forget what it's called.
For their
Whatever it
ancestry?
is. Yeah, it's an ancestry feat, but basically what it says is you get this you get to pick a dedication that you want as a human.
Let's see
It's
if
a
we can
ninth
find that.
level ancestry feat. Yeah,
Cooperative
it's
soul, incredible improvisation, multi-talented. There it is. You gain a second level
yeah,
multi-class
multi-talented.
dedication. There we go.
So my paladin, my champion, is also technically a sorcerer. I have the sorcerer dedication for
Mm-hmm.
divine magic.
Mm-hmm.
But all it really does is because champions actually get they have expertise already in divine spell casting, even
Mm-hmm.
though they get like they only have very few spells. But now I have the access to two cantrips, so I can use stabilize to stop my companions from dying,
Mm-hmm.
and I also have what's it called? Divine Lance. So I have a ranged option as well. So I can shoot a Divine Lance at enemies that are far away from me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very creative. That's very, very cool. I didn't know you could even do that. That's cool. Even I learned something. Haha. Which is one of the things that I think will be fun to do this kind of stuff is the level of engagement that you guys who've actually been able to play, be around other players who know the rules really, really well. And the questions I'm going to ask, a lot of them are going to make it, they're not as informed. So you're answering questions from someone who already wants to learn and wants to get the Pathfinder 2 stuff going, where I might be able to draw in more mature players from AD&D and D and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Instead of just posting on Facebook and showing pictures of their maps all day long, get them to start coming to play.
Yeah.
I think a lot of older players are sometimes intimidated by the complexity of a younger audience. And I think a lot of 5th edition players are intimidated because they never played anything. Like they're just in it for their
Yeah.
critical role dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to talk about too is sort of the expectations for your GM because a lot of people are like, oh, I watched Matt Mercer and
Oh
he did
yeah.
all this really cool stuff, and it's like, yes, Matt Mercer is awesome, like no doubt about it. However, I really doubt you're gonna have the same like experience as other people. Oh, I just won. I realized that now. But you're not gonna have that same experience. Like you can't rely on him being like the greatest person of all time. Some GMs are gonna make mistakes. They're gonna have things that they work towards. So you got to be patient. Um, but I think that that's what a lot of people want to do, though, is they want to be able to like really RP, and some people don't. Some people just want a power game, and they want to be like, well, I made the ultimate fighter who does 3 attacks a turn and gets like no multi attack penalty almost, and does a boatload of damage, right?
Yeah, so they can plow
Um,
through cool content and see cooler stuff and spend your time and not,
yeah,
and just have every fight be an expression of your tactical prowess as opposed to being like, oh
yeah.
gosh, we're gonna get wiped out here. That's the
I
element.
think.
I come from
Go ahead.
a generation that's more. You're so fragile in AD&D. Like you don't have a lot of hit points if you play it by the book, and the enemies can be so nasty, but they have kind of low hit points too. And but there's not a lot you can do. There's no like feats or anything. Um, you have to really, really, really be careful. It almost feels like military operations half the time when you're playing a really smart group. But then again, you're 12. You're 12 years
Yeah,
old, so um, the newer games now with all the feats and the skills and the things you can do, and then occult and religion checks and all these basic and train. There's so much more you can do as a player. I imagine new players come to this game, they're going to try to do what they know how to do from the other game first and foremost. And the big thing I see happening is people getting wiped out and killed because they approach combat, like you said your friend did, a different way than they've done in 5th edition.
yeah. I think that it's a little bit easier to handle though. You don't have as like there is an issue where you definitely see like, oh, this person is gonna rush in and they're gonna play their character in a way that's really kind of not fun for the rest of the group. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that happens all the
Yeah.
time. Um, but at the same time, I think that's okay. It's not the biggest problem in the world because it's about playing around those things to get, you know, a better outcome, um,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, you don't want to direct people how to play. You want them to have a good time doing what they want to do. You don't want them to be like,
It,
oh, we
it
can't.
leads to RP. Honestly, every time the fighter in our group rushes in, I'm like, God damn it! Like Karen, I get back! Like, stop being ridiculous! Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop this stream. Not that I'm not enjoying talking to you because it's really fun, actually, um, and see how this comes out. And hopefully we can. If you can recruit any friends, if you have any friends that want to jump in that from your group, that'd be awesome. And figure out a time slot that where we can get 2 or 3 people at the same time, and maybe that first episode could just be bantering about
Yeah,
character creation and let your people know what they can do up front, because the target audience for the video is probably going to be people who want to play online, but they're a little shy about it, and they'd like to play Pathfinder Second Edition. Maybe they bought the books and they really would like to play, but they're confused with Roll20 and all this other stuff. So they can kind of go, well, here, this is a cool community. Jump on Discord, go join the Pathfinder Reddit group, and people answer questions. It's not about being made to look silly. And a lot of people are. I'm not afraid to ask questions. So I think it could be fun banter back and forth. What ideas do you have?
I actually kind of think that's a good idea.
Well, cool. We'll try that. And I think the one thing with the map thing is just if we ever have a situation we need to talk about something, we can just put some miniatures on the screen and say, okay, this guy's going to rush in. Most of it's going to be in people's heads when they're listening. They're not going to sit here and look at the board the whole time, right? The board thing is just for goofiness and fun.
Yeah, the main thing for me on like character creation is a lot of people. I think just need to remember that like, yeah, you're a first level barbarian or a first level bard or whatever, or first level wizard. Like, yes, you're a wizard, but you're a first level wizard. Like, you've literally just started adventuring. You've never gone on an adventure before. Like, you're brand new to this, so your character isn't like some god that is incapable of being overcome or something. You need to understand that.
That might be another neat thing, feeding off what you just said there, is where we talk about those different classes, pull up one of these, pre-gen character sheets and start explaining things like, well, when you're a caster, you got the spell attack, and you got a DC, like how does that work versus what you'll learn in another game, and how powerful medicine is, which is really powerful, and even how to create the character and the theme. For me, when I was learning, having the pre-gens was such a great place to reverse engineer like what to pick, what not to pick, and how does it affect. But I think a lot of people get a little intimidated with some of those complexities, but they're actually empowering,
Yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. Well, it's nice meeting you, man. What's your first name?
It's Ben.
Ben. I'm Elliot, and I'm gonna stop the stream here. And if you got a chance to say in that chat channel what time would work for you to do it, if you want to grab a buddy or two, that'd be fine. There's currently 2 active people chatting in the channel. Got a couple lurkers. If we get one more person, I think we'd have a cool conversation. I think it'd be fun. I think people would appreciate it. And I have a pretty decent audience on YouTube, but they're mostly older dudes that want to recapture their lost past. But I'd love to be able to try to get them more into Pathfinder. And a lot of the views on the YouTube channel is it's always Pathfinder stuff. Like that one, anything that's about one of the books or the backgrounds, it just gets watched over and over and over. And I know people are poking around and trying to learn things. I think if they could hear people talk about it more on their terms, without them having to go to a channel and sign up and have to listen to random people, they can just turn it off if they don't like it. It gives them a freedom to listen in without having like a podcast almost. So
yeah, and it's just the thing. Like, time's good for me as long as I'm not it's basically like past 7 o'clock on Eastern Standard Time. I'm good to go. It doesn't matter.
yeah, because you're 8:15 or something now, aren't you?
Yeah, just about.
All right, cool. Well, it's nice meeting you. Have a good evening. And if you think of anything, you want to change direction or grab a buddy, you let me know, and we'll wing it sometime. All right?
Yeah, for sure. I know the guy who runs like my first edition campaign. He's pretty great. So
yeah, maybe he wants to jump in, or he may be like, "No, I'm not doing it."
yeah,
right.
he'd probably be up for it. He likes that stuff. All right, but nice talking to you, Elliot.
Yeah, man. Take care. Have a great night.
You too.
All right. See ya.